All right, so I'm no fool here, okay? I understand that fandom is full of subjectivity, is full of bias. I have my own biases. Obviously, I was in love with Derek White when we had him. He's just the type of player that I love. Same thing with Jeremy Sohan. I loved him before the Spurs even picked him up, okay? So I understand that there's going to be some type of bias, but at the same time, I try my best to be as objective as possible. And I also try my best to try to find like nuances or at least look at the context of what's going on with the team. And one thing that I absolutely hate, okay, I absolutely despise it, is the amount of hate that Greg Popovich receives from certain Spurs fans. I want some nasty. Are we having fun yet? So a clip has surfaced. I mean, I say surface like it's leaked. It wasn't leaked or anything. Shout out to Tom Orsborn for actually posting this. It says Wemby in a low post session with Popovich. So he is definitely getting coached up. Now, before we look at this video, if you guys want to support the channel, clanthemerchfan.com, link in the description, or become a patron or YouTube member, only $2 per month. I appreciate all of the love. And if you guys don't want to do any of that, that's totally fine. Just subscribe and like this video. That would mean the world to me in and of itself. All right, so let's take a look at this. So this is Wemby and Popovich in a session. And the reason why I'm showing this is because there are so many people that are saying that Greg Popovich is not coaching. I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know why people think that all of a sudden Popovich is a bad coach or that he doesn't know what he's doing. And I've said this many of times, okay? Here, I'll just let it play because I don't think you can hear anything anyway. Here, let's see. Yeah, you can't really hear anything anyway. Here, I'll just turn it down a little bit. So I've said this so many times, but when it comes to Pop, I will be fully with people. Like I said, I'll be completely objective. If I saw Popovich and I didn't see a guy that was in touch with the guys, or I saw someone where a lot of players are starting to point the finger, or there's some type of drama when it comes to our players or anything like that, and I don't necessarily see that, okay? Even somebody like DeJounte Murray, who, I mean, let's be real, I've talked about this so many times before, that his character wasn't necessarily a San Antonio Spur. That's fine. Not everybody has to be, okay? And it's not like he was like the beacon of controversy with the San Antonio Spurs. No, he was fine with the Spurs. He didn't start anything necessarily with anybody. But with that being said, when he left the San Antonio Spurs, he went basically on a hate tour, right? Like started talking to Steven Jackson, which he is a known Spurs hater. Everyone knows that. But you know one thing that DeJounte Murray didn't do? He didn't bash Greg Popovich. And I think that that's something that people need to actually pay attention to. The fact that every single player that has talked trash about the San Antonio Spurs and guys that have played with the Spurs, it's rare when they actually talk bad about Popovich. Shoot, even Steven Jackson doesn't say anything really negative about Popovich. He's constantly saying, yeah, Popovich, you know, he could say what he wants because of Duncan. But then at the same time, he'll also say, Popovich made me into the man I am. And he did have immense respect for his players. And half the battle when it comes to coaching, especially in the NBA at this level, is managing personalities. And I'm sorry, guys, there's no one in the league better at that than Greg Popovich. I feel like at this point, if you truly do believe Popovich should retire or he should be gone off of this team, there's something else going on. There's something extra that you don't like Popovich for. There's an extra layer of subjectivity you got there, a little extra layer of bias there. And I just sit back and I see it as for what it is, okay? He's the most winningest coach of all time. He's continuously been successful, and he was very successful all the way up till something happened that no one could have foreshadowed. Something happened that any coach would have struggled with, and that was when Kawhi Leonard left the San Antonio Spurs. And about that as well, the narrative's just all over the place. I know this is going to be a little, off topic, but there's a narrative going around that Popovich should be fired because the Spurs have been rebuilding for 5 years. I don't know where this came from. I don't know why, I guess it's just haters. I have no idea. I don't want to just say, hey, you're a hater if you say anything that I don't agree with, but this is just a weird one. The idea that the Spurs have been rebuilding for 5 years is just factually false. Actually, even when I think back around that time, every single person was talking, those same Spurs fans were talking about how the Spurs need to rebuild and they're just holding on to mediocre players and they're not going to go anywhere with DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge and they need to rebuild. So I don't understand how we can also say they were rebuilding at that time while at the time you were saying that they weren't rebuilding. I don't know where that's coming from. The San Antonio Spurs started their rebuild once they traded Derek White. It was very obvious that what was going on. There were some Spurs fans that actually believed that DeJounte Murray was going to be the future after that. I mean, me and along with quite a few other people, or a lot of Spurs fans thought that he could potentially end up being traded. And that's exactly what they did. But that's when the rebuild actually started. I don't know where this narrative is coming from. And then the whole idea that the Spurs, you know, they wasted all those years. It's like, well, yeah, okay, you got you got DeMar DeRozan in the Kawhi trade. That was literally the best thing you could have got. And big shout out to Brian Wright on that deal because, as you guys know, RC Buford was actually in charge. You know, he was the GM at the time. But Brian Wright actually came in and said, okay, you're going to have to give us a little bit extra than just DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi. And that's why they traded Danny Green for Jakob Poeltl. And then that, you know, that even gave us a good future as well when you trade away Jakob, but eventually trade away Jakob. Anyways, sorry, getting off topic. All I'm saying is, like, the whole idea that back then, you know, they were trying to rebuild and all that, that's not necessarily true. And people got to keep in mind, too, that back then, when we had Kawhi Leonard, we were a championship caliber team. 2017 was a championship caliber team. So after 2018, it makes sense for the Spurs to say the system was still going strong. You still have vets on the team. You still attempting to win. It makes sense for actually, when you did that trade with DeMar DeRozan, that maybe we can make something happen. Now, did it work? No, obviously we lost, right? We didn't really do much. But at the same time, Derek White, he really shown himself to be a really great asset, and he got on people's radars once he got to the playoffs. So it paid off in somewhat. And I just think that overall people just have like a very simplistic way of viewing things and just saying we lost at that time, we lost, and we're losing now, everything's over, Popovich goes. And it's like, why does everything just come down to W or L, man? Like, I get it. Like, we want them to win. Popovich wants to win. Wemby wants to win. All of our players wants to win. All right. But the whole idea that the San Antonio Spurs are in the same boat as, say, the Detroit Pistons is just wrong. It's just, we just started our rebuild. Relax, chill, enjoy the basketball. It's not like we're watching really terrible basketball. Like, yeah, there's quite a few turnovers here and there. Don't get me wrong. But these guys are playing hard. You can see them getting better and better each day. And even this clip in and of itself shows that they are putting in the work, okay? He is getting the best possible coaching he could get in his career. It doesn't get better than Greg Popovich. This is not just me saying this. This is guys that actually played with different coaches, different organizations, and they all say the same thing. There's nothing quite like the San Antonio Spurs franchise. Richard Jefferson has said it as well. There's nothing like getting coached like Popovich. There's nothing like the support group that you have with San Antonio, where people say the closest thing to family. Well, that's the San Antonio Spurs. So I don't know. I just feel like a lot of Spurs fans at this point are just entitled. I get it. I understand. I want to win too. We all want to win, but there's a process to this. And I'm genuinely enjoying these games. I'm genuinely enjoying the process. And I feel like, you know, most people aren't. And I don't know. It upsets me, man, when we start getting to the point where get rid of Popovich. It's so silly. He's not out of touch. If he was, I would be completely with you. If he wasn't good with the guys, if there was a lot of complaining, if we could see a lot of turmoil, I'll be with you. But that is not the case with the Spurs, okay? It seems like the guys really do love Popovich. He's still doing his thing. Can he be cringy? Yeah, the whole don't boo. What are you guys doing? We're better than that. You're cringy, super cringe, okay? But that is no reason to fire Pop. That's so silly. That's so out of bounds to me. And on top of it, all the guys supported him for that anyways, right? That was a very pro player stance, anti-fan on our part, right? We didn't like it, but it was a pro player stance, and I can't get mad at that. But anyways, I'll get with you guys later, man. But yeah, just lay off Popovich. If anybody here that does trip when it comes to Popovich, just lay off, dude. Like, relax, give it some time. It takes time to rebuild. It's totally fine. But anyways, I'll give it to you guys later. Till next time. Bye.